In our Decision 2006 report, we continue our up-close look at the candidates running for governor. KARK4's Cecily Pond-Mayo is here to take us behind the politics with Republican Asa Hutchinson.
And Bob, Asa Hutchinson and his wife have a permanent residence in Bella Vista, but for campaign purposes, they have an apartment in Little Rock as well. And that's where they allowed us to come into their living room. You'll even see their cat Tane wandering around. We went to ask them questions about their past and what they see for Arkansas's future. At 31 years old, Asa Hutchinson was the youngest U.S. attorney ever appointed. He was tapped by Ronald Reagan in 1982.
I was probably the last one some people expected to be appointed United States Attorney.
Unexpected because this young man, raised on a farm in Gravette, Arkansas, had just begun entering the world of politics, and also surprising because several years earlier he was going door to door for a Democrat campaign.
Actually, my first campaign that I campaigned for someone was David Pryor when he was running for the United States Senate against John McClellan. So I didn't grow up as a Republican. I grew up as an independent, looking at the person.
Soon he began making headlines. He put on a flak jacket and personally helped negotiate a standoff between the feds and a white supremacist group called the Covenant, the Sword and Arm of the Lord. After 3 days, leaders came out peacefully. And during his U.S. attorney years, he prosecuted the brother of then-Governor Bill Clinton. Roger Clinton was charged with cocaine distribution.
I'll never forget subsequently President Clinton told me on a number of occasions that he thought I saved his brother's life because of that prosecution.
Hutchinson would eventually prosecute the president himself, and he would continue a war on drugs in Washington. More on that a little later, but first,
Job is being bad.
We wanted to find out more about the life behind the politics.
The daughter was just married.
Susan met Asa while the two were attending Bob Jones University in South Carolina. They married soon after and now have 4 grown children.
Well, what do you think you can bring to the state as First Lady?
I hope a lot of pride in the state that we are and the people. I'm thoroughly convinced we're the best kept secret in the nation. All the time we were up there in the administration, I would be homesick, and my friends would ask me, well, why do you homesick for Arkansas? I said, well, have you ever been? And they hadn't. They were just clueless as to the depth and the beauty and the people of Arkansas.
And the two of you ever disagreed on issues? I take that as a yes.
Well, I mean, anytime you have two people, I mean, we're not clones of each other. You have your own different thought processes and values and information that you've looked at. On the key issues, in his platform and everything, and I'm very proud of him being pro-life.
Hutchinson suffered political defeats before enjoying victory. In 1986, he ran against incumbent Democrat Senator Dale Bumpers, lost that race. Then in 1990, lost again when he ran for Attorney General against Sheffield Nelson. In 96, he ran for Congress and won the seat, being vacated by his brother Tim. It was during his term in Congress.
As we come to the closing of this case,
he was one of the managers prosecuting President Clinton during the impeachment hearings.
The chairman of the Judiciary Committee asked me to do that, and I'll never forget walking out with my colleague Charles Canada and saying, if he thinks I'm going to be a manager of this case in the Senate trial, he's got another thing coming. That's the worst thing I could ever do for my political future. People of Arkansas would not understand it, and so my initial reaction was, no way would I do that. But as time went on, I remember the oath that I took. I thought about the difficult time that our country was going through, and I thought that because I have been a prosecutor, I knew the law, I thought I could present the case in a fair way.
During the months of this trial process,
after a new administration took over the White House, Hutchinson was appointed head of the Drug Enforcement Administration.
I've also read that while you were the administrator of DEA, that you actually went undercover to a rave party. Tell me about that.
You've read too much. Someone joked that there's only so much you can do when you're 50 years old going to a rave party to be undercover. But I did go out at about 3 a.m. in the morning with some of my agents who were younger.
Then after 9/11, President Bush tapped Hutchinson to become the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security, a position that involved protecting the borders.
And I've seen how illegal immigration hurts our communities.
And in your ads, you say you want to be tough on immigration. I did read this quote from the Washington Times where you told them a few years ago when concerning deportation. I don't think America has the will. I think they have too much compassion to tell our law enforcement people to go out there and uproot these 8 million people here. Is there a difference between what you're saying now and what you told the Washington Times when you were with Homeland Security?
No, it's totally consistent. I believe our first responsibility is to protect the border, is to secure America, and to make sure that if an immigrant comes to our country, they come legally and not illegally. The federal government has a responsibility on the border, but the states can partner with the federal government, and we can do more as a state, and that's what I've presented my plan on. Whenever you look at what I addressed in that interview of the 8 to 11 million that are already here illegally, I think first of all we secure the border.
And we are going to talk more about immigration next week. This week, our purpose is to show you a personal side to all 4 candidates. And next week, they will all be here live in the studio for tough questions about the issues. Bob.
All right, Cecily, thanks very much.